Hi guys, PJ here. Today we will be working on a 2003 Renault Clio, and I'm going to be showing you how to hardwire a dashboard camera into the vehicle's fuse box so that it goes on and off with the ignition and does away with all the unsightly dangly cables that you may have going to your cigarette lighter to plug the thing in. As you can see, not ideal. We want it all nice and neatly out the way so it's battery fitted, not like this. So, before we get started on this guide, I just need to quickly point out that I am in no way held liable or responsible for any damage to your vehicle or injury to yourself incurred by following this video guide. Right, so as you can see, we're fitting a neck-based camera to this particular car. Quite a lot of brands out there, different ones, but to be fair, this guide pretty much covers all the brands. They're pretty much the same thing. They all need a power supply, they all need an earth, etc. Most of the manufacturers, Kenwood, Blackview, etc., Garmin, I'll have a fitting kit available. So you want the manufacturer's fitting kit that goes with the camera. Most have mini USB on the end, or micro, most are mini though. And then you have a power cable with an inline little voltage converter there, and an earth and a power cable on the end. Most come with a fuse spur, so let's have a look inside this box and see what comes with it, see what it's all about. So, in the box, there's your main power cable with mini USB on the end there. Earth cable with a little spade terminal to put underneath a screw or bolt that's chassis earthed. I'll probably end up improving that and putting a ring terminal on it. These are a little bit feeble, a little bit weak, can snap when you're tightening something back up over the top of them. So it's just up to you. If you take care, they're fine, but I like to normally improve on that a little bit. And on the other end, you've got a already bayoneted power cable. You also have a ferrous filter, which is basically like a magnet, and you wrap it around the end of the power cable nearest the USB, so that if you have a DAB radio and other certain radio devices, CB, etc., it cuts the interference down. These are really simple things. They're on little clips that you can see there, and basically what you do, you clip, unclip it, open them out, wrap your cable around it, through it, and out the other side. I'll show you that when it's on. You need two hands to be able to unclip it and do it for you. And then you also get in your little pack fuse spurs. Now, there's about 3 or 4 different sizes nowadays. There's microblade, mini blade, and the old-fashioned bigger blade fuse there. For the Clio, we'll be using mini blade, so that one can go away, don't need that. And there we go. What these are is basically a doubler, so it doubles up the socket in the fuse box. So in other words, when we have found our ignition live accessory fuse in the fuse box that goes on and off with the ignition of the car, so in other words it is not powered when you take the key out, we will be pulling that fuse out, shoving it in the gap here, the spare gap, and then shoving this, the whole thing, in where the fuse came from. The fuse that's in here is a 2 or 3 amp normally, and that's enough to run the camera. Pretty much all of them are them sort of amps. And then the fuse next to it is obviously going to be whatever size fuse you pull out of your fuse box. This is female bayoneted, so obviously being a kit it's meant to fit onto the end there. It'll be one long run. If you're doing it separately or you haven't got a fuse spur in your kit, very handy little things to get. You can normally get them off eBay, Amazon. They're about £1, maybe £2 if you buy a pack of them. And they save you do any soldering or any snipping of wires or anything like that. So especially if it's a lease vehicle and you can't, mess around with it, these are ideal because you can just take them in and out as you please, sort of thing. It's one of those. So I'm just going to quickly cover what useful tools you were going to need to do this job. I'll do you a little lineup of what things are ideal. What do I normally use? Some cable ties. They're for bulking up the cable where it goes across the headlining so that it doesn't fall down in front of you when you hit one of your big potholes. There's nothing worse than driving along and all of a sudden bang and a big cable drops down in front of your view. So that's just to bulk up the cable. I'll show you what I mean by that in a few minutes. Electrical tape. Yep, going to use that a couple of times. Long nose pliers, not strictly needed. Cars come with a little plastic adapter to pull fuses out of the fuse box with. But some fuse boxes are quite recessed, so I normally use these just to grab the fuse and pull it out. Don't have to, of course, you can use the thing that comes with the car if you've still got it. Wire snips. Speaks for itself really, probably be using that on the earth cable. Multimeter. Now if you haven't got a multimeter, you can use one of those little sort of test probes, like a screwdriver with the light bulb in the end, and it's basically for touching on the end of the fuse. If you look at a mini blade fuse, and I'll just grab one for you, like here, you'll notice that on the ends there's two shiny steel pieces sticking up. These are ideal for putting your test probe on just to see if the voltage is there or not when you're going through your fuse box. So here's the cable I'm starting to prepare. This is your power cable with your mini USB on the end. There's your ferrite filter I was on about. Yeah, there's the hinges on the rear, clips on the front. And all we've done is unclipped it so it opens out, run the cable through the centre of it, loop it round the back and then back out again. And that's your interference filter fitted. Measure it up against the top of your window screen and see periodically where you can put a cable tie. So wrap a cable tie around the cable, snip the end off it, and then you'll notice when you snip a cable tie, they're normally sharp on the end. Well, your headlining is made of like a fibre type substance, and over time it could rub it on the inside and make a mess of it. So I always just cover them in electrical tape just to pad them out a little bit. I mean, it's probably a little bit over the top, but at the end of the day, I don't want it wearing the inside of the headline and we keep moving. Then we're going to fit the power cable to the top of the headlining. You start in the centre, so get the centre cable tie out of 3. If you put 3 in like I have, grab your centre one. Carefully, you can normally on a Clio there's enough room to put your fingers behind it. If not, you can use something else but not metal. Yeah, so put your fingers behind it. Carefully ease it down. Don't go at it like a bull in a china shop. It's quite fragile stuff. Tuck your cable tie up behind it and then do the same for the other two. See, it is quite bendy. Look, you're not going to damage it unless you go too mad with it. Tuck them all up until they're out the way. And then when you come along to this corner here, what we're going to do is get the black here, the seal, and pull it. It comes off quite easily, look. There we go. And then we can just carefully push that across a little bit like so, and run the power cable down the top here. So the power cable is going to go along the top here. If you've got airbags in the centre here, some have, some haven't on these. Obviously go over the top, out the way of the airbag. Your airbag normally starts here, goes down, so across the top, out the way of the airbag. So it's under the headline in itself rather than under the plastic, and that'll keep it at bay out of the way. Continue your cable down the edge, so we're going to tuck it in the top like so. I will have to do this a little bit better, but you know, it's working one-handed, it's always good fun. So we tuck this down and down and down, all the way down, basically until we get to the end of the dashboard. So end of the dashboard. Now it will depend on what country you're in, because they can vary end to end on these cars, but the fuse box is in here. There we go. Take that out of the way. It's on a little hook, so you just sort of pull it out. Move that safely away. Access to your fuse box. Now, sometimes levering trim off, some of these fuse box covers can be tricky. If it won't come off, you could always invest in something like these. These are plastic leverage devices. This is a Bojo tool. You get these off eBay for about £1. Never ever be tempted to lever something with metal screwdrivers. You will 100% put a dent in it and make a right mess of it. Use a plastic device if you need to. So obviously we're going to run our power cable to here, and then we're going to need somewhere for our earth cable as well. Now what we're going to do is start by testing the fuse box. So with your ignition off, grab your multimeter. Mine's seen better days, but it does still work, I assure you. And we're going to go through the mini blade fuses. Now I've done a lot of these cars, I've done a lot of all cars over the years, and I sort of know which ones I'm going to use. You don't want to be using anything for airbags, anything for ABS, engine management, anything like that can throw a warning light up. You want an accessory fuse, such as 12-volt socket, that type of thing, something non-important as it were. So what we're going to do with our multimeter is earth out the back probe, so that's earthed, yeah. I mean, if you've got a multimeter, I would imagine you know how to use it. So if you've got them little screwdrivers, all you're going to do is get the point and touch on the fuses and see if it lights up. Now you want one that doesn't light up with the ignition off, that does light up with the ignition on. Okay, that way you know it's ignition switched. So with that touched onto the metal tip there that's sticking out of the fuse, let's turn my multimeter on, that'll help, wouldn't it? So if that touch there, 0 voltage. Okay, this is an example fuse, I picked any at random. Now we turn the ignition on and we test the voltage again, and you'll probably see 11 point something or 12 point something volts if it's ignition switched. If it is and it's an accessory fuse, refer to your owner's manual to know what the fuse does, that'll be perfect candidate for the camera. So I've tested some fuses, guys. I'm using what on this particular spec of car is the cigarette lighter socket, which is third row down, second one in, as you can see. However, you will have to check your own car because depending where they're sold in the world, the fuse box layouts could be completely different, along with spec, year, etc. So we're going to pull the fuse out and we're going to put that in our fuse spur. So there we go, there's the 15 amp shoved in the fuse spur. Fuse spur connected to the power cable now. And we're just going to pop that in the fuse box, like so. Power running downwards, so not a problem. So you've got your camera fuse and you've got your original fuse for your cigarette lighter. Obviously you're going to need to hide some of this cable in, so what we're going to do is run the cable down inside, tuck it up behind the dashboard and also find an earthing point. So looking up under the dashboard at the minute, there's a nice big 13mm bolt here. I'm going to take that out and use that as the earthing point for the black cable. And there we go, 13mm bolt back in. I don't know if you can actually see that. There we go. There's our earthing point. We've got a ring washer on it there. That's a nice solid secure earth, goes to the chassis. So at this point we're now going to be just tidying up the cable, so obviously it's not dangling around, and tuck it down behind the footwell trim, not a problem, and we'll give the camera a quick test. So with camera nicely connected, we're just going to turn the ignition on and make sure it's all live. Yep, all good. So with that in mind, we can finish putting away our tidied up cabling. Just tuck it behind the trim here, like I say, out of the way, not a problem. Put your fuse box cover back on, which is a pretty simple job. I mean, like I showed you when you take it off, you've got lugs. Just slide it up, under and in. And there we go. That is how you fit a dashboard camera on a Renault Clio. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments below, and thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.